My name is David. I'm 38 years old. And I never thought I'd say this, but every night, my wife went into our son's room. One night, I set up a hidden camera, and what I saw destroyed me. I'm standing here, recording this, and my hands are still shaking. My voice cracks when I try to talk about it. Because what I discovered didn't just break my heart, it shattered everything I thought I knew about the woman I loved, about my family, about my entire life. Before I continue, please like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. It helps this dad know someone out there is listening. Because right now, I need to know I'm not alone in this darkness. Let me take you back to when everything seemed perfect. God, I hate that word now. Perfect. Because nothing was perfect. I was just too blind to see it. We lived in a quiet neighborhood in the suburbs. White picket fence, two-car garage. The kind of place where people wave at each other from their driveways, and kids ride bikes down the street until the streetlights come on. I worked as an engineer at a manufacturing plant, about 20 minutes from home. Standard 9 to 5, sometimes longer when projects got intense. My wife, Jennifer Jen, she worked part-time as a dental hygienist, 3 days a week, which gave her plenty of time with our son. Our son. God, even saying those words makes my chest tighten. Tommy. He's 7 years old, or he was 7 when this all happened. Brown hair like his mother, my blue eyes, and this laugh that could light up a room. Could. Past tense. Because somewhere along the way, that laugh disappeared, and I was too caught up in my own routine to notice when it stopped. We'd been married for 9 years. High school sweethearts, actually. I met Jen when we were 16, at a football game. She was in the stands with her friends, and I was. Well, I was the nerdy kid who went to football games just to fit in, not because I understood the sport. She smiled at me. That's all it took. One smile, and I was gone. We dated through senior year, went to the same state university, got married right after graduation. Tommy came along 2 years later, and suddenly we were a family. We had dinners together every night. We went to Tommy's t-ball games on Saturdays. We took vacations to the beach every summer. From the outside, we were the American dream. If you asked anyone, our neighbors, our families, our friends, they'd say we were the perfect family, the Millers, always smiling, always together, always happy. But I was blind to what was happening behind closed doors. It started small, so small that I almost missed it. Actually, I did miss it. For weeks, maybe months. I don't even know anymore. The timeline is fuzzy now, blurred by guilt and rage, and this crushing weight of failure that sits on my chest every single day. Tommy started getting quieter. At first, I thought it was just him growing up. 7-year-olds go through phases, right? They're not always the chatty, energetic little kids they were at 5 or 6. They start developing their own personalities, their own internal worlds. That's what I told myself. But it was more than that. He stopped running to the door when I came home from work. That was the first thing I noticed, really noticed. For years, the best part of my day was opening that front door and hearing "Daddy," and seeing this little blur of energy racing toward me, arms outstretched, ready to tell me about his day, about the cool bug he found at recess, about the drawing he made in art class, about absolutely nothing and everything all at once. But then, silence. I'd come home, and he'd be sitting on the couch, staring at the TV, and he'd barely look up. "Hey, bud," I'd say, and he'd mumble, "Hi, Dad," without even turning his head. I asked Jen about it. "Is Tommy okay? He seems off." She waved it away like it was nothing. "He's fine. Just tired. They've been doing a lot of activities at school. You know how it is." And I believed her. Because why wouldn't I? This was my wife, the woman I'd loved for more than 20 years, the mother of my child. She spent more time with Tommy than I did. If something was wrong, she'd tell me. She'd know. God, I was such a fool. The changes kept coming, creeping in like shadows at dusk. Tommy stopped smiling. Not completely, not all at once, but gradually. His genuine smiles, the ones that crinkled his eyes and showed all his teeth, those vanished. Instead, there were these tight, fake little smiles that never reached his eyes. The kind of smile you give when someone tells you to smile for a photo and you don't want to. He started having nightmares. I'd hear him crying out in his sleep, these muffled whimpers that would seep through the walls. The first time I tried to go check on him, Jen stopped me, put her hand on my chest in the hallway, shook her head. "I'll handle it," she whispered. "You have work in the morning. I've got him." And she'd slip into his room, close the door behind her, and stay there, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for an hour. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the murmur of voices through the wall, telling myself that this was normal. This was what mothers do. They comfort their children. But something felt wrong. His appetite changed. He used to eat like a little vacuum cleaner seconds, sometimes thirds, especially if Jen made spaghetti or tacos, his favorites. But he started pushing food around his plate, taking tiny bites, leaving most of it untouched. "Not hungry, sweetheart?" Jen would ask, her voice sugary sweet. "No, Mommy," he'd whisper, not meeting her eyes. "That's okay. Maybe you'll be hungry later." And I'd sit there, fork halfway to my mouth, watching this exchange, feeling this knot forming in my stomach. But I didn't push. I didn't demand answers. I just let it happen. The worst part, the part that haunts me most, was the fear in his eyes. Not all the time, just sometimes. Quick flashes, like lightning bugs on a summer night. I'd catch him looking at his mother, and there'd be this expression on his face that no 7-year-old should ever have. This mixture of terror and resignation, and something else I couldn't quite name. One evening, I was helping him with his homework. Basic math problems, addition and subtraction. He was struggling, getting frustrated, erasing the same answer over and over. "Hey, it's okay, buddy," I said, putting my hand on his shoulder. "Take your time. You've got this." He flinched, actually flinched at my touch, pulled away like I'd burned him. "Tommy?" My heart was racing. "What's wrong?" He looked up at me, and his eyes were so big, so full of something I couldn't understand. "Are you okay, son?" "I'm fine, Dad." His voice was barely a whisper. "You don't seem fine. You can talk to me. About anything. You know that, right?" He nodded, but he wouldn't meet my eyes anymore. Just stared down at his math worksheet, his little hands trembling. "Tommy, please, tell me what's going on." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then, so quietly, I almost missed it. "Dad, please, don't tell Mom." Those words, those 6 words, they sliced through me like a blade. "Don't tell Mom what, buddy?" But he just shook his head, tears starting to well up in his eyes. "Nothing. I'm fine. I'm just tired." That's when Jen walked in. "How's the homework going?" Tommy's whole body went rigid. "Fine, Mommy. I'm almost done." "Good boy." She smiled at him, then at me. "Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes." And she left, and I sat there with my son, and I knew something was desperately, terribly wrong. But I didn't know what, and I didn't know how to find out. He stopped running to hug me when I came home. He stopped smiling. And when I asked why, he just said, "Dad, please don't tell Mom." I couldn't sleep anymore. That's when it really started to consume me. I'd lie in bed next to Jen, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through possibilities. Was someone at school bullying him? Was he sick? Was there something going on with his friends? But none of those explanations felt right, because the fear in Tommy's eyes wasn't general anxiety or stress. It was specific, it was directed, and it seemed connected to Jen. I started paying closer attention, watching, listening, feeling like a detective in my own home, which made me sick to my stomach because this was my family. I shouldn't have to investigate my family, but I did. I noticed that Tommy's behavior was different when Jen wasn't around. Not normal, not like he used to be, but lighter, less tense. One Saturday, Jen had to work an extra shift, and it was just Tommy and me. We went to the park, got ice cream, played catch in the backyard, and for a few hours, I saw glimpses of my real son, the boy who used to exist before all this started. He laughed at my terrible jokes. He chased me around the yard. He told me about a book he was reading at school, his voice animated and excited. And then, Jen came home. The change was instant, like someone flipped a switch. Tommy's smile disappeared. His shoulders hunched. He became small again, withdrawn, careful. "Hi, Mommy," he said, his voice flat. "Hi, baby. Did you have fun with Daddy?" "Yes, Mommy." "That's good. Why don't you go wash up for dinner?" And he scurried away, practically running to the bathroom. And I stood there in the kitchen with my wife, feeling like I was going insane. "Everything okay?" Jen asked, kissing my cheek. "Yeah." "Fine." But my voice sounded hollow, even to my own ears. The nights were the worst. I'd wake up at 2, 3 in the morning, my heart pounding for no reason I could name. Just this primal sense that something was wrong. I'd lie there in the dark, listening. And that's when I started to hear it. Footsteps. Soft, careful footsteps in the hallway. The creak of a door opening. The whisper of fabric. Of someone moving quietly through the house. The first time, I thought I was imagining it. Sleep deprivation playing tricks on my mind. But then, I reached over to Jen's side of the bed. Empty, cold. She wasn't there. I sat up, my pulse thundering in my ears, strained to listen. And I heard it, voices, muffled, coming from Tommy's room. His door was closed, but I could hear them. Jen's voice, low and steady. Tommy's voice, smaller, frightened. I couldn't make out the words, just the tone, the fear. I got out of bed, moved toward the door. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to burst into Tommy's room, to see what was happening, to protect my son. But I hesitated, because what if I was wrong? What if this was innocent? What if Jen really was just comforting him from a nightmare, and I was letting my paranoia turn me into a monster who didn't trust his own wife? I stood in the hallway, frozen, hating myself for my indecision. After about 15 minutes, I heard Tommy's door open, saw the light from his nightlight spill into the hallway. Jen emerged, closing the door softly behind her. She saw me standing there and startled. "David, you scared me. What were you doing?" "Tommy had a bad dream. I was just settling him down. He's been having a lot of bad dreams lately." "I know. I think it's just his age. Growing pains." She moved past me, back toward our bedroom. "Come back to bed. You need your sleep." But I couldn't move. I stood there in the dark hallway, staring at my son's closed door, and I knew in my bones that she was lying. It happened again the next night, and the night after that, and the night after that. Always the same pattern. Jen would wait until she thought I was asleep. Then she'd slip out of bed, go to Tommy's room, stay for anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, come back, slide into bed like nothing had happened. And every single time, I'd lie there, pretending to sleep, my heart breaking a little more. I started listening more carefully, pressing my ear to the wall between our bedroom and Tommy's, and I'd hear things, fragments of conversation. "You know Mommy loves you, don't you?" "Yes, Mommy." "And you know you can't tell anyone about our special time together?" "Yes, Mommy." "Good boy, that's my good boy." And Tommy's voice, so small, so broken. "It hurts, Mommy." "Shh, it's okay. It'll be over soon." I felt like I was drowning, like someone was holding my head underwater and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what I was hearing. Because it couldn't be what it sounded like. It couldn't be. Not Jen, not my Jen, not with our son. But the evidence kept piling up. The fear in Tommy's eyes, the nightmares, the withdrawn behavior, the whispered conversations, the way he flinched from touch, the way he said, "Please, don't tell Mom." I started researching. Late at night, when everyone was asleep, I'd sit in my car in the driveway with my phone, Googling things I never thought I'd have to Google. Signs of child abuse, warning signs in children, how to tell if something's wrong. And every single article, every single list of symptoms described my son. Behavioral changes, check. Withdrawal from activities, check. Fear of a specific person, check. Nightmares and sleep disturbances, check. Flinching from physical contact, check. Regression in development, check. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to scream. I wanted to take a baseball bat and destroy everything in sight. But most of all, I wanted to be wrong. I wanted this to all be in my head, some paranoid delusion brought on by stress and lack of sleep. Except I knew I wasn't wrong. That night, when I saw her leave our bed again, I knew I had to find out the truth. I called in sick to work the next day, told them I had the flu, needed a few days to recover. Then I drove to 3 different stores in 3 different towns before I found what I was looking for. I didn't want anyone I knew to see me buying it, didn't want questions, didn't want to have to explain. A hidden camera. Small, discreet, with night vision and motion detection. The kind of thing that looks like a phone charger or a clock or a smoke detector. Something that wouldn't draw attention. Something that would show me what was really happening in my son's room when I wasn't there. I felt like a criminal, standing in that store, holding that box. The clerk rang it up, without even looking at me. Just another transaction in his day. But I wanted to scream at him. "Do you know what I'm about to do? Do you know what I suspect? How can you just stand there and act like this is normal?" But I didn't. I paid in cash, took the camera, left. In my car, I sat in the parking lot for 30 minutes, just holding that box. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely grip the steering wheel. Because once I did this, once I set up that camera, there was no going back. Either I'd prove myself wrong, and then I'd have to live with the fact that I'd spied on my wife and violated her trust and privacy, or I'd prove myself right. And if I was right, I didn't want to think about what that meant, but I had to know. For Tommy, whatever the cost, whatever the consequences, I had to know the truth. I waited until that afternoon. Jen was at work, Tommy was at school. The house was empty. I stood in Tommy's doorway, looking at his room. His twin bed, with the superhero bedspread. His bookshelf full of picture books and chapter books. His toy box overflowing with action figures and building blocks. His little desk where he did his homework. This should be his safe space. His sanctuary. The place where a child should feel most protected, most loved. And if what I suspected was true, it had become something else entirely. I installed the camera in his bookshelf, behind a row of books, positioned so it had a clear view of his bed. Tested it with my phone to make sure the angle was right, that I could see everything I needed to see. The picture was crystal clear, even in the low light. The motion detection worked perfectly. Everything uploaded to a secure app on my phone. I never thought I'd spy on my own wife. But a father's instinct is louder than love, and my instinct was screaming. That night, dinner was torture. I sat at the table, pushing meatloaf around my plate, trying to act normal, trying to make conversation, trying not to stare at Tommy, at the way he barely ate, barely spoke, trying not to stare at Jen, at the way she smiled and laughed and acted like everything was perfectly fine. How could she sit there like that? If my suspicions were right, if she was really doing what I thought she was doing, how could she be so calm, so normal, so convincing? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe. David, you okay? I blinked. Jen was looking at me with concern. You've barely touched your food. Just not very hungry. Think I might be coming down with something. That's been going around. You should probably get some extra sleep tonight. Sleep. Right. Like I could sleep knowing what might happen once the house went dark. After dinner, I helped Tommy with his homework again. Math problems. Reading comprehension. Normal dad stuff. But nothing felt normal anymore. Everything felt like it was happening behind glass, distant and surreal. Love you, bud, I said when it was time for him to go to bed. Love you too, Dad. He hugged me, and for just a second, he held on tight, like he was trying to tell me something he couldn't say out loud. I wanted to grab him, wanted to say, tell me everything. Tell me what's happening. Tell me how to help you. But Jen was there, hovering in the doorway. Come on, sweetheart. Time for bed. Say goodnight to Daddy. And he pulled away from me and followed her upstairs, and I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. I went to our bedroom, changed into pajamas, brushed my teeth, all the normal nighttime rituals, acting like this was just another ordinary evening. Jen came to bed around 10, kissed me goodnight, turned off her lamp. Good night, honey. Good night. I lay there in the dark, my phone on the nightstand, the app already open and ready, waiting. An hour passed. Then another. I could hear Jen's breathing, steady and deep. She was asleep, or pretending to be. Around midnight, I felt the bed shift. I kept my eyes closed, kept my breathing even and slow, heard the rustle of sheets, the soft pad of bare feet on carpet, the door opening with the quietest creak. She was going to his room. I waited 30 seconds, then I reached for my phone, hands trembling so badly I almost dropped it, opened the app, the feed from the camera loaded, and there, on the screen, in grainy night vision green, I saw my son's room. Tommy was in bed, lying on his side, facing the camera. His eyes were open. He wasn't asleep. He was waiting, and his expression, God, his expression was one of pure dread. The door opened. Jen entered, closing it softly behind her. Mommy? Tommy's voice was tiny, terrified. Hi, baby. Did you think I forgot about you? No, Mommy. She sat on his bed, reached out to stroke his hair. He flinched, just slightly, but didn't pull away. You're my special boy, aren't you? Yes, Mommy. And you know our nighttime visits are just between us. Our secret. Yes, Mommy. Good. Because if you tell anyone, they won't understand. They'll try to take you away from me. You don't want that, do you? No, Mommy. He was crying now, silent tears streaming down his face. That's my good boy. And then she reached for his blanket. I can't tell you exactly what I saw after that. Not because I'm trying to protect anyone's privacy or maintain some kind of mystery, but because my mind literally cannot process it. It's like there's a wall in my brain, a defense mechanism that won't let me fully remember the details. Because if I remembered, if I really let myself see and understand what my wife was doing to our 7-year-old son, I would shatter completely. What I can tell you is that I watched for maybe 30 seconds, maybe less, and in that time, I saw enough. Enough to know that everything I'd feared was true. Enough to know that my son had been suffering every single night, for God knows how long. Enough to know that the woman I loved, the woman I'd built a life with, the mother of my child, was a monster. And what I saw that night will haunt me for the rest of my life. I don't remember much about the next few minutes. I know I must have made noise, because I remember Tommy's terrified face on the screen, looking toward the door. I remember dropping my phone. I remember stumbling out of bed, my legs barely holding me up. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight, like someone had wrapped chains around my rib cage and was pulling them tighter and tighter. My vision was blurring. My ears were ringing. I was having a panic attack, or a heart attack, or maybe I was dying. Maybe that would be easier. But I couldn't die, because Tommy needed me. I felt my whole world collapse, but I knew one thing. I had to protect my son. I made it to the hallway. Don't know how. My body was moving on autopilot, propelled by pure adrenaline and rage and horror. Tommy's door was still closed. I kicked it open. It slammed against the wall with a bang that must have woken the whole neighborhood. And there they were. Jen, sitting on Tommy's bed, frozen in shock. Tommy, curled up under his blanket, his face wet with tears, his eyes wide with terror. "Get away from him." My voice didn't sound like my own. It was low, dangerous, barely human. "David, what? Get away from him." Jen scrambled off the bed, backing toward the wall. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I moved toward Tommy, keeping my body between him and Jen. "I know what you've been doing. I saw everything." Her face went pale, then red, then a mask of rage I'd never seen before. "You were spying on me? How dare you?" How dare I? How dare I? I was screaming now, all control gone. "You've been abusing our son, our baby, and you want to talk about privacy? I haven't been abusing anyone. I'm his mother. I'm helping him. Helping him." I wanted to hit her. For the first time in my life, I wanted to physically hurt another person. My hands were clenched into fists, my whole body shaking with the effort of holding back. "You call what you were doing helping?" Tommy was sobbing now. These horrible, gasping sobs that sounded like they were being torn from his chest. I turned to him, forcing my voice to soften. "Buddy, it's okay. You're safe now. I'm here. I'm going to protect you. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry. I tried to be good. I tried." "Shh, shh. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. Do you understand me? This is not your fault." I scooped him up in my arms, blanket and all. He was so small, so fragile, and I hadn't protected him. I'd let this happen night after night because I was too blind, too trusting, too stupid to see what was right in front of me. "Where do you think you're going?" Jen's voice was cold now, calculated. "I'm taking Tommy, and we're leaving." "Like hell you are. He's my son. You don't get to call him that anymore. You lost that right." I moved toward the door, keeping Tommy held tight against my chest. "Don't try to stop me. I have everything on camera. Everything. And if you so much as take one step toward us, I'm calling the police right now." "You wouldn't dare." I pulled out my phone with one hand, kept Tommy secure with the other. "Try me." We stared at each other for a long moment, and for the first time since I'd known her, I saw fear in Jennifer's eyes. Real fear. Because she knew she'd been caught. She knew it was over. "This isn't finished," she hissed. "You're right. It's not. But you're finished. I carried Tommy downstairs, grabbed my car keys from the hook by the door. Didn't bother with shoes or a coat or anything else. Just got him in the car, buckled him in, and drove. I didn't know where I was going at first. Just away. Away from that house. Away from her. But then Tommy spoke, his voice so small in the darkness. Are we going to the hospital? Do you need to go to the hospital, buddy? I don't know. Sometimes it hurts really bad. And that's when I lost it. Completely lost it. I had to pull over because I couldn't see through my tears. I was sobbing, my hands on the steering wheel, my forehead pressed against my knuckles, and I was making these horrible sounds that didn't even sound human. I'm sorry, Daddy. Don't cry. I'm sorry. No. I turned to look at him in the back seat, his little face illuminated by the streetlight. You have nothing to be sorry for. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have seen. I should have known. It's okay, Daddy. It's not okay. None of this is okay. But I promise you, I swear to you, she will never hurt you again. Ever. I drove to the emergency room. It was 3 a.m, and the ER was mostly empty. The nurse at the desk took one look at us, me in pajamas, barefoot, eyes red and swollen, carrying a 7-year-old wrapped in a superhero blanket, and her expression changed. I need help, I said, my voice breaking. My son he's been abused by his mother. I have evidence. I have video, and I need someone to examine him. I need to make sure he's okay. It's okay, sir. We're going to help you. Both of you. Come with me. They took us to a private room. A doctor came, then a nurse, then a social worker, then a police officer. I told them everything, showed them the video on my phone, answered their questions, signed forms, gave statements. Tommy was examined. They were gentle with him, so gentle, but I could see how scared he was, how humiliated, how broken. The doctor came out afterward, her face grim. There's evidence of repeated trauma. We're going to need to run more tests. But, Mr. Miller, your son has been severely abused. I already knew. But hearing someone else say it, hearing a medical professional confirm it, made it real, in a way it hadn't been before. Will he be okay? Physically? In time? Yes. He's young. His body will heal. But psychologically? She shook her head. He's going to need extensive therapy. This kind of trauma, especially from a parent, especially at his age, it's going to take a long time. Whatever he needs, whatever it costs, I don't care. We're going to keep him here overnight for observation. And we've already contacted Child Protective Services. They'll be here in the morning to interview both of you. I nodded, numb. They let me stay with Tommy. Gave us a room with 2 beds, though I doubt either of us slept. I just held his hand all night, watching him breathe, reminding myself that he was safe now. He was safe. The next few days were a blur of interviews and statements and meetings with lawyers and social workers and detectives. Everyone wanted to hear the story. Everyone wanted to see the video. Everyone had questions. The police arrested Jennifer at the house. She didn't resist, didn't try to run, just went quietly, with this blank expression on her face that made her look like a stranger. They charged her with multiple counts of child sexual abuse. The evidence was overwhelming. The video, Tommy's medical examination, his testimony given in a special interview with trained forensic interviewers who knew how to talk to traumatized children. And once the investigation started, other things came to light. Search history on her computer, disturbing messages in deleted folders, evidence that this had been going on for at least a year, maybe longer. A year of nights where she went into his room and hurt him. And I was in the house, right down the hall, sleeping, while my son was suffering. The guilt nearly destroyed me. Still might. Because how did I miss it for so long? What kind of father was I? What kind of man was I, that I didn't protect my own child from the person who was supposed to love him most? The therapist I started seeing told me I couldn't think like that abusers are skilled manipulators, that they're experts at hiding their actions, that I did the right thing as soon as I knew. But it doesn't feel like enough. It doesn't feel like anything close to enough. Child Protective Services was involved, of course. They had to be. They investigated me too, which I understood. Had to make sure I wasn't complicit. Had to make sure Tommy would be safe with me. I welcomed the investigation. Opened every aspect of my life to their scrutiny. Because I had nothing to hide, and I needed them to know that. I needed them to see that I would never, ever hurt my son. They cleared me after 2 weeks. Granted me full custody. Jennifer's parental rights were immediately suspended pending the criminal trial. I haven't seen her since that night. She tried to call a few times from jail, but I blocked her number. She sent letters, but I returned them unopened. She has a lawyer who's attempted to reach out, but I referred everything to my own attorney. I don't want to hear her excuses, her explanations, her justifications. There is nothing she could say that would make any of this okay. Nothing that would make me see her as anything other than what she is. A monster who hurt our child. The trial was, I don't even have words for it. It was like being gutted and filleted and put on display for everyone to see. Every intimate detail of our family life examined. Every moment of horror dissected. The video played in open court. Tommy's testimony given via closed-circuit TV because he couldn't bear to be in the same room as her. I sat in that courtroom every single day. Made myself watch, made myself listen, because if Tommy could be brave enough to testify, I could be brave enough to bear witness. Jennifer's lawyer tried to argue that she was mentally ill, that she wasn't in control of her actions, that she needed treatment, not prison. The prosecutor argued that she knew exactly what she was doing, that she went to great lengths to hide it, that she threatened Tommy to keep him quiet, that she was a predator who used her position as his mother to abuse him. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. She'll be in her 60s when she gets out. Tommy will be grown. He'll have had a chance to build a life without her shadow hanging over him. When they read the verdict, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel relieved. I just felt empty. Because no sentence, no punishment, no amount of prison time would undo what she did to him. Nothing would give him back his innocence. Nothing would erase those nights. But at least she couldn't hurt him anymore. At least there was that. So, here I am, 8 months later, sitting in our new apartment. I couldn't stay in that house. Couldn't let Tommy sleep in that room ever again. Trying to make sense of everything that happened. Tommy is in therapy 3 times a week. He's on medication for anxiety and depression. He has nightmares still, though not as often as he used to. He flinches less, smiles more. It's a slow process, but he's healing. Last week, he laughed at one of my stupid jokes. Really laughed. The kind of laugh that comes from the belly and lights up the whole face. And I almost cried because I hadn't heard that sound in so long. He's back in school, has a few friends, still struggles sometimes, especially with trusting women, especially with authority figures. But his teachers know what happened, not the details. But enough, and they're patient with him. They're helping. I quit my old job, found something with more flexible hours and the ability to work from home when needed, because Tommy needs me. And I will never, ever put my career or my comfort or anything else ahead of his needs again. We talk now. Really talk. I've told him 100 times, 1,000 times, that what happened wasn't his fault, that he didn't do anything wrong, that I love him, that I'm proud of him, that he's the bravest person I know. I've also told him about the warning signs I missed, not to make him feel bad, but because I want him to understand. If something feels wrong, if someone is hurting you, if you're scared, you tell someone. You keep telling until someone listens. And God, I wish I'd listened sooner. Looking back now, the signs were all there. Every single one. The behavioral changes, the fear, the withdrawal. His plea, don't tell Mom. I tell other parents this now. I've shared my story with friends, with support groups, online. Because if my experience can help even one person, if it can save even one child from going through what Tommy went through, then maybe some good can come from this nightmare. If something feels wrong with your child, don't ignore it. Trust your instincts. Push for answers. Investigate. Because the cost of being wrong is nothing compared to the cost of being right and doing nothing. I ignored my instincts for too long. I trusted when I should have questioned. I assumed the best when I should have prepared for the worst. And my son paid the price. This story might save another family. That's what I tell myself on the bad days, when the guilt threatens to consume me. When I lie awake at night, thinking about all the times I could have acted sooner. When I remember the fear in Tommy's eyes and know that I let it continue for longer than it should have. I can't undo the past. I can't give Tommy back the year of his childhood that was stolen from him. I can't erase the scars, physical and emotional, that he'll carry for the rest of his life. But I can make sure it never happens again. I can protect him now. I can be the father he deserves, the father I should have been all along. And I can tell this story, as painful as it is, as much as it kills me to relive it, because silence is what allows abuse to continue. Shame is what keeps children from speaking up. Fear is what keeps parents from asking the hard questions. So I'm breaking the silence. I'm pushing past the shame. I'm facing the fear. Because love isn't just saying you'll protect your family. It's doing it no matter the cost. Today, my son smiles again. Not all the time, not without effort, but he smiles. He plays. He does homework and complains about vegetables and asks for extra screen time, just like a normal kid. He's not the same boy he was before. He'll never be that boy again. The trauma changed him in ways that can't be undone. But he's here. He's alive. He's healing. And I've learned. God, have I learned. I've learned that trust can be misplaced, that love can be weaponized, that the people we think we know best can be hiding monsters inside. But I've also learned that children are resilient, that healing is possible, that there's hope, even in the darkest moments. Tommy will be okay. It's going to take time, years probably, but he'll be okay. And I'll be here every step of the way, making sure he has everything he needs to recover, to grow, to become the person he's meant to be, not the person this trauma tried to make him. Love isn't just saying you'll protect your family. It's doing it, no matter the cost. And I will protect my son. For the rest of my life. That's my promise. That's my purpose. That's my redemption for the months I failed him. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Because sharing these painful stories makes me feel less alone in the darkness, and knowing that someone out there is listening, that maybe my experience can help someone else, makes the pain a little more bearable. If you're a parent watching this, please, I'm begging you, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, if your child is showing warning signs, if there's even a tiny voice in the back of your head saying something isn't right, listen to that voice. Investigate. Ask questions. Don't stop until you get answers. Because the worst thing that can happen if you're wrong is a little embarrassment. But the worst thing that can happen if you're right and you do nothing, well, you've heard my story. You know what that looks like. Protect your children at any cost, even if it means suspecting someone you love, even if it means turning your life upside down, even if it means facing horrors you never imagined possible. Because they're counting on you. They're depending on you. And sometimes you're the only one who can save them. I didn't save Tommy in time, but I saved him eventually. Please, don't make my mistakes. Don't wait. Don't ignore the signs. Save them now, before it's too late.